Hey there, Hassan from Infinity Vans, and today we're going to be cutting and installing a kit for a Sprinter 170. So we're going to head over to the CNC, get that cutting, and then take it over to the van, start installing, and give you some tips and tricks on how to best install our base kit into your van. So let's get cracking. All right, so we've got our sub panels cut and we're ready to do our pre-installation work, which involves a little bit of the Havelock wool going in first, but most of this wool will go in once the sub panels are actually in, because our sub panels hold it in the walls and the ceiling. That's the beauty of our kit, is that it holds the wool in place prior to the installation of the finished panels. Also put in some sound deadening for sound deadening purposes, but also in surfaces that will come in contact with the sub panels to allow for a little bit of padding there. And then we'll also run any marine Romex we want to use from one side of the van to the other, from the power system to outlets on the other side. But most of your wiring will be going in to the sub panels with the channels that we route out for that purpose. And you'll also, with the kit, you'll get a jig for your cutouts for your fan and your AC. It's very simple. It just has some holes that align with the center, with the factory holes in the center of the van and the ceiling. And then you just throw it up on your ceiling, have somebody help you hold it up, and then drill out these holes at 14 inches, and then use a little blue tape or a Sharpie, make some straight lines, cut out the hole, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. In this case, this install is going to take the Smart Floor. Smart Floor works great with our kit. You can either use that or just our plywood multi-ply floor. In this case, we will be using the Smart Floor. That goes in first, and then we'll install our sub panels. Okay, it's a little loud in here because we're cutting with the CNC, doing the finished panels. Wanted to show you how we use the jig. So we've got a bolt through the insert for the rear. This is going to be for the rear cutout, so it's using the widest hole pattern. And we're going to put these bolts up into the center line of the ceiling. So we'll use these factory holes, and we'll just put the bolt up into that hole, and then the other one, bring over your third hand, lock that in place, and now you're ready to drill out your 4 holes, and then from there, mark it out with some blue tape or a Sharpie and cut it out from the top. All right, so we got our holes drilled from underneath with our jig. So just come up top, tape it off a little bit with some blue tape to get your lines. Sawzall and go to town. Okay, so the next step after we've got our cutouts done is to apply the sound deadening and the insulation into places that we won't be able to access later after the panels are on. So we applied the sound deadening to the walls and to places where there will be contact with the panels to add a little cushion between wood and metal. We stuff the insulation into the places we won't be able to reach, and then we're ready to apply the panels. Okay, so we've got the sound deadening in, we've got the pre-installation, so we're ready for our sub panels. And before you put the sub panel in, it's very important to know you need to put these T-nuts on the back and these inserts on the front. Now the T-nuts will later hold your cabinets. They'll bolt through both the sub panels and the finish panels. The inserts will hold your finish panels on. So we're going to find these larger holes with the little divot on it is where your T-nut is going to go. So we place the T-nut in that hole, do a little tap, just tap it in. And once all your T-nuts are on the back of the panel, flip it over to the front, get your insert. You got your 6mm hex head bit that we'll provide with the kit, and find the smaller holes and insert just like that. And so we're going to do the inserts on the entire front, the T-nuts on the entire back. Do that on all your panels, and then you're ready to install. Okay, so we're ready to install the first sub panel, and we're going to align the inner part of the sub panel with the center line on the C column. Be sure when you apply your sound deadening material to the walls that you apply it to either side of this seam so that you can still align it easily. So you can either have someone help you, just push against the panel and bring it up in line with this line. You can also use one of these third hands from Fast Cap. They work great. So I'm going to use one of those. I'm just going to push off the other wall and use it to apply pressure to this panel, lock it in place, and then we'll use our self-tapping screws to screw each of these points into the frame of the van. Okay, so we've got the whole van insulated, and now we're ready to do our wire. So this is a 12 volt 12 gauge wire from PowerWorks. Fits really well into our channels. And generally what we'll do is, let's say this is a dimmer here for the lights, so we'll bring power from the power system. You just place this wire in the channel and push it in, and generally it stays really nicely in there. If you do find that it's falling out at all, you can just add a little bit of tape over it. Generally you won't need tape on the walls, you'll need it maybe on the ceiling, but even on the ceiling it's pretty snug. So let's say we're running from this dimmer, running our circuit for our lights up into the ceiling. Just run it up into this channel, and out, and even there it's pretty snug and it stays in pretty nicely. You know, if necessary you can add a little bit of tape there, but other than that, just run the wire to all the junction boxes in the van so you'll have power later if you need it. And after that, we'll be ready to put on our finish panels. We're ready for the finish panels. Okay, so we've got all of our insulation, wiring in, and now we're ready for the finish panels. So we're going to start on the passenger side with the first panel here. It lines with the edge of the Terrawagon trim kit, holds the trim kit in. And so you just get that first panel in and then move to the next and the next on your way to the back of the van. Then you can come over to the front of the driver's side, start with that panel, make your way back to the back of the van, and then start with the ceiling up front and back to the back of the van, and then you'll have all your finished panels in. We'll look at that once I get them all in. So you can hold the panel in place with the third hand, and you can check the alignment. You can see here the insert is ready to take the bolt to hold it on. can check your T-nuts here are aligned properly. So then you just bolt it on with the bolts provided. Do that on the whole panel and then move on to the next one.